Good morning, everyone. This is Tiffany with the Delray Chamber. So I just want to thank all of you for joining us this morning for our last nonprofit council. If you excuse me if I cough at all, I have really bad allergies from all of this rain. So I'm going to keep my video off, but thank you all so much for taking time out of your day to join us for our last nonprofit council. I just have a few announcements to go through, and then I'm going to hand it back over to Lynn.
You're welcome. Okay.
Can everyone see my screen? So just a big thank you to our 2020 program partner, Ron Kaniak of Kaniak Law Office. If any of you guys have any questions for him, his information is on this slide, and we'll provide this at the end and include it in our recap. Thank you to our 2020 Nonprofit Council Leadership Committee. So there's a great picture from the very beginning of this year when we were all together at the chamber. So thank you to Glenn Muller, Lynn Van Lenten, Tom and Jamie, and Ron Kaniak, and of course our, why can't I think of her name? Lynn, help me. Jane Glatz, of course, we love our Jane.
And Chloe.
And Chloe on the end, Chloe Ritz. She is our 2021 nonprofit committee chair as well. So thank you to Chloe for donating all of her time from Be Like Brit. On next Tuesday, November 17th, we will have a lunch and learn with Ron Kaniak about consumer and business bankruptcy. So if you'd like to tune in, or if you know anybody that needs some of those resources, again, all free. We are so excited. If you're ready to network in person, we are having a socially distanced business and bagels on Thursday, November 19th, and that's going to take place at the Hyatt Place in one of their large meeting areas. So grab your masks and come join us. That is RSVP required. So just head over to delraybeach.com/events and you can register. We are super excited. Our annual legislative luncheon will take place. It's always the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. That's a really great opportunity to get updates from our state legislators that are in Tallahassee, and it's always the week of Thanksgiving because they're home that week. So again, that'll be Tuesday, November 24th at 11:30, and that will take place at the Aloft Hotel. I'm not sure if any of you have tuned in, but the first Friday of every month, we have our Economic Development and Government Affairs Friday Forum. So we'll hear from Mark Barron from the Delray Beach Open, and then we'll also, it's a great way to get your firsthand update from the City of Delray Beach, the Delray Beach CRA, the DDA, the Emergency Manager for Delray Beach, Police Department, and Fire Department. So great way to get firsthand updates straight from them. And we're really, really excited. We did not get to have our annual fundraiser, our Party in Paradise, where we honor all of our business awards. So we're super excited for the Delray Chamber Hometown Heroes Awards. That'll be Wednesday, December 9th at 5 o'clock. And it will be a virtual award ceremony followed by a ticketed event at the Sunday House. So this is where we need all of you. So we have 4 Delray Chamber Awards, which is the Business of the Year, Business Person of the Year, Nonprofit of the Year, and the Crystal Palm Service Award for community service. So last year, our Nonprofit of the Year were our friends from Community Greening, and the Crystal Palm Community Service Award was Ted Hoskinson from Roots and Wings. So super excited for them. So if you'd like to send your nominations, just who you're nominating, why you're nominating them, to chamber@delraybeach.com. Nominations are running through this Friday. The nominating committee will meet on Friday and pick the top 3 in each category, and then it will be turned to the community to vote. So you'll win by vote. This year we are also honoring our community heroes. So first responder of the year, educator of the year, healthcare professional of the year, and inspirational leader of the year. So the first 4, the Delray Chamber ones, those must be Delray Chamber members, but then we also have our community heroes. So just send your nominations to chamber@delraybeach.com. And then real quick, the business of the year was last year was Nancy Reagan with Ballerina Spa, and the business person of the year was Dr. Marcy Young from Young Dentistry. So big shout outs to all of them. So again, if you have nominations, please send them to chamber@delraybeach.com with a brief description as to why you're nominating them. And for those of you that have already made your nominations, thank you so, so much. And again, thank you to our 2020 program partner, Kaniak Law Office. If you have any legal questions, Ron is always just a quick email away. And then Lynn, if you'd just like to talk a little bit about 2021, mission and purpose is going to be the theme for January 5th's meeting. So the first Tuesday that we'll meet in 2021 will be mission and purpose.
Yes, we're excited this next year. A couple of us have gotten together and talked about, you know, with this crazy 2020, where are we going with 2021? And we thought that telling our story like never before is a great theme for next year, because that's what we're doing. We've had to pivot, that lovely word. We've had to try new things, and our story has had to shift with us. So I'm excited that this next year, we're going to have 10 sessions all about telling your story. We are going to start with our mission and purpose. We're going to move to the art of storytelling. We're going to talk about branding, graphics, and video from the experts. We're going to talk about social media and your story, written communication and PR. We've got Rich Pollock coming in from Pollock Communication to talk about wordsmithing, your story through speaking, et cetera, et cetera. We have a great lineup for the next year. I've also have a relationship with Atlantic Ave magazine, and they've agreed to publish one of our stories every month, a 500-word story on one of our nonprofits, which I think will be great.
Hey, how are you?
We're really excited about that, and we'll be picking that person randomly, kind of out of the hat of the group that show up the month prior. So we're going to allow all of you to be in that pot. We're going to pick a name, and then you're going to work with Rich Pollock. He's going to edit, and you're going to get to tell your story in Atlantic Ave Mag. So we're excited about that. And at the end of the year, we're going to do a storytelling competition with an award, and that's all coming, but that will be in December. So I hope that you put in your calendar the first Tuesday of the month. Depending on what life looks like, we're going to try to do an in-person meeting in 2021. It may be a hybrid, it may be all in person, or, you know, if the tables turn, we'll go back to Zooming it. But we're going to work really hard at getting us back together so that we can learn and communicate together. National Leadership Institute will be involved. Conoco Agency will be involved. Cara Klopp, who is a local marketing expert, she has a friend from California that's going to Zoom in and talk to us about how she grew her nonprofit through social media, and it's going to be an incredible year. So mark your calendars now, be watching for emails from all of our team, and we look forward to a really good 2021. We're going to tell our story like never before. So hopefully y'all got to hear that. I can't see any of you because we've got the screen back behind us. Tiff, can you put everybody back up for a sec?
Yeah. But with that, I just would like to say thank you to our friends Raylan Barlow and Jerry Zarnecki from National Leadership Institute, who will be presenting today. So
Yes.
Thank you both so much for joining us, and everyone that's joined. We are recording the call, so we will send you that included in your recap if you missed our chamber announcements. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and there's everyone there, and I'm going to turn it over to Raylan. Oh, Raylan, you're still muted, my friend.
Thank you. I thought you might go to Jerry first. So good morning, everybody. It is good to see you, sort of, and I sure miss seeing everybody in person. We're thrilled to be with you today. We're thrilled to have this chance to present and to talk to you about a new program that National Leadership Institute is bringing to South Florida. This will be the first time we've talked about it in Palm Beach County. So you guys, I'm anxious for your feedback. I'm excited to share. But Jerry Zarnecki, the founder of National Leadership Institute, has a presentation for you first. It is our educational session for the day, and it is all about your boards and the top 5 things they should be doing right now to help you during COVID and during these challenges we're facing. So Jerry, let's see if you are, there you are. You look like you're in outer space.
Yeah, I sure am.
Let me
Okay,
just share with
so
everybody real quickly before you start, a quick bio. So Jerry, for those of you who have not seen him present, he is our founder and our board chair. And this man has been on more than 50 nonprofit boards across the country and globally. He's seen it all. The tiny nonprofits, starting them, helping them grow, creating them, the big global NGOs, he has seen it all, folks. So if you want to ask somebody your board questions, this is the man, this is the time. Jerry, take it away.
oh brother, how do you deal with that kind of an intro? That's not even fair, Raylyn. Okay, so
It's true.
I'm gonna share my screen, and I am I'm not what you'd call somebody who loves the idea of having a PowerPoint presentation. I'm not a PowerPoint genie. But I am going to talk about something that I think is very important, and that is the role of the board and how it can help the organization leadership to be able to stay focused in what, quite frankly, are, I hate the term, but they really are unprecedented times. And so let me say, first of all, that it is a fact of life that boards are the ultimate owners of everything you're doing. They own the responsibility to make sure that whatever that not-for-profit is doing, whatever its mission, whatever its purpose, whatever it's trying to accomplish, it's their responsibility to support the leadership and to provide the leadership with leadership that gets you through the good times and the tough times. And Lord knows we have experienced tough times this year. This has been a year for the books. There's no doubt about it. And we're not done yet. And we don't really, any of us, know when we're going to be done. This process, and you heard talk about hybrid meetings, and maybe we have in person, and maybe we'll social distance, and maybe we won't, and maybe we'll Zoom it all the way. I don't know what the future is going to hold. Yes, yesterday we had some encouraging news about the Pfizer vaccine, and there may be some hope that we'll start to see some ability to turn the corner on this SARS virus, but the bottom line is we don't know. And the boards, therefore, and you as the leaders of these organizations, the boards have a huge responsibility to be able to respond to the challenges. And so when we go to the very first thing that I will call the top 5 priorities, the first one is so obvious that I almost didn't put it on the list, but I felt that it was imperative for me to actually say it, because like it or not, it is without a doubt the number one thing that we all are going to face. And it is true about every single not-for-profit. We are looking, and by the way, it's true about every single business, every small business that's out there, every business, large and small, that's out there is struggling with a thing called cash. You got airlines that are shutting down schedules. American Airlines just the other day reduced their holiday schedule by 50%. And there is no doubt about it, the hospitality industry has been beaten up badly, and every one of the hotel chains is struggling massively to be able to stay afloat. So whether it's a large business or whether it's a small business, with the exception of a few businesses that have been able to survive in the virtual world, not the least of which obviously is an Amazon as an example, everybody is struggling. So not-for-profits are not alone in this, but every single board has to be asking you the question, what about our cash? And what about our forecast for cash? And if they ask you that, they should be asking it, and they should be asking you to give them your best estimate. And you want them to ask that question, because if any of you are in fact struggling through the times, depending on what your quote model is, if any of you are struggling through times, you need your board to be well informed. So they need to ask the questions, and you need to want them to ask the questions. You need them to want to bite the bullet and say, how serious is our cash flow problem? And there may well be some of you that are sitting on a hoard of cash and you're doing just great. If you are, I need to talk to you because I haven't figured out how to do that in some of the businesses I'm involved in. Our hoard of cash has been eroded pretty badly in almost every business I'm involved in. So for whatever it's worth, that board needs to know, and you want them to know, because you don't want them to be in a position where they can't recognize that they have an obligation to help you. So this cash and cash forecast issue is a top priority. It's always an issue in not-for-profits. Not-for-profits are, in fact, organizations that rely on monies to come in based on the cause that you are supporting, based on your mission of serving the community. And it's not something we sell to the people who get served by us. It's something that we provide them through the funding of philanthropy in general, whether it be government philanthropy or whether it be individual or corporate philanthropy. It's important, and that cash flow issue is critical. And in tough times, it becomes increasingly important. If I'm on a board and I'm talking to the leadership of the organization, and I know we've got cash flow challenges, I want to see what our hunker down plan is all about. I want to know how we're going to get through the tough time, and I want to know what we're doing. And I, as a board member, want to make sure that I'm there to help with that hunker down plan. And like it or not, we are in hunker down times. This is not a time when many not-for-profits, let alone many businesses, are worrying about expanding. They're worrying about surviving. They're worried about staying alive to fight the battle another day. And this whole concept of what do we do to downsize ourselves to be in a position so that we're still here 6 months from now or a year from now when things, quote, return to some semblance of normal. And so if a board member isn't saying, okay, what's our plan? What are we planning to do to be able to preserve resources? What are the hard decisions we're making? And like it or not, every single business, every single not-for-profit organization is going to be continuing to be making tough decisions about what it can do and what it can't do. And that may have to do with staffing. It may have to do with services that we no longer can provide. It may have to do with, wait a minute, where are we going to get the additional resources to just be able to provide the most basic of needs in the community? Lynn was running around, some of you were here early enough, she was running around trying to hold everybody on the call to help a guy who walked into her office who has just been evicted and he has no place to go. He literally has no home. The fact is that guy happened to walk into Lynn's office, but there are many of those guys out there right now. And when asking the question, who knows what resources are available for emergency housing, the group came up pretty dry. There were not a whole lot of answers to questions about what emergency housing is available. In these times, not only are organizations stressed, but the whole community is stressed. And so when we start talking about hunkering down, we have to make decisions about what can we do to serve the community. Not what do we want to do, but what can we do? What do we have the resources to do? And what are the most important priorities? And there is nothing harder than to make priority decisions. Nothing harder for a board, nothing harder for each and every one of you in the management of these organizations to say, what is it that we can do and what is it we just simply cannot do? And there are going to be a lot of organizations that are going to have to make those decisions. Some of you have already made some. But as the longer this process goes on, the longer everybody's resources go on, strained the way they are, the harder it is. So these hunkered down plans are something that are going to take a lot of time for boards and management to have conversations about, because tough decisions are just that. They're tough decisions. And then once you figured out what your cash is and once you figured out what you think you can do and what you can't do, then obviously fundraising plans have to get readjusted. And you'll notice the note I made here is in the face of donor fatigue. I will admit to you, I'll tell you a little story. I have an organization that I have been providing funding for as a not-for-profit, a cause that I'm very passionate about. I'm not going to talk about what that cause is, but it's a cause other than National Leadership Institute, which of course gets an enormous amount of my priority. But there's an organization along with a whole bunch of others that I've given some money to in my philanthropic efforts. And it's an organization that's home-based in Washington, D.C., and the development representative called me up about a week ago and said, Jerry, I'm coming to Florida. I'd like to stop by and see you. Well, whenever he comes by to stop by and see me, I know why he's doing it, because he's kind of trying to stay connected with me and hopefully that I'll write another check. And so he came down and we had a brief conversation. And he said he had a matching grant from somebody, and he wanted to know if I would be willing to match it. By the way, it was a big number. And I had to look the guy in the eye and say, you know what? I am philanthropically tapped out this year. I have stretched the limits of my ability to be able to write those checks, and I'm philanthropically tapped out. And I looked at the guy and he was devastated. And it was not easy for me to make that statement, but I had run my course. I had gotten to the point where I just could not write any more checks this year. And so I think you're going to be experiencing, whether you like it or not, donor fatigue for two reasons. One, because a lot of people have gone back to the same donors and asked for added contributions to keep organizations funded. And secondly, is because their resources, especially if they're living and breathing in the real world of business today, their resources are strained because of the COVID. Whether it's a restaurant owner who is working at less than 50% capacity, whether it's a business that hasn't even been able to reopen because of the nature of their business. The fundamental fact is we're going to be dealing with donor fatigue, and it's not going to get much better over the next 6 months or so. So we need to be prepared to find new sources of philanthropic effort. And that's going to be a very significant part of how we have to retool our fundraising plans. The traditional funders are going to be there because they're passionate about your mission, but you have to recognize that fundraising is not going to get easier during this COVID crisis. The longer it extends, the harder it gets because of this donor fatigue issue, as I've described it. So this is a top priority, and boards need to own fundraising. Nobody should be on a board if they think that fundraising is somebody else's job. It is essential that every board understand that that is contrary to the way it is in the business world. If I'm a board member, when I'm a board member of a business, I am not responsible for revenue generation. I'm responsible for overseeing it as a governor of the organization, but I'm not responsible for revenue generation. That's what they have a sales and marketing management team for. But in the business of not-for-profits, fundraising is a critical element of what a board's responsibility is. And it's their job to support and focus on helping the administration and the leadership of the not-for-profit to raise the necessary funds to be able to satisfy the cause needs. So like it or not, boards have to be focused on this fundraising planning process. Unfortunately, as Lynn was pointing out, the social distancing thing, this virus transmission, and let's face it, it is highly communicable. It has forced us to live with the screen that you're looking at today, the virtual meeting. And I put this on the list as a priority because it's important that boards and management use the time effectively. And it's very important that you as leaders of organizations engage in every possible way to make sure that just because you're seeing people on a screen doesn't mean that you aren't connecting with them as humans. And there are a lot of us who have been around long enough that being in the same room with somebody kind of matters. I'll admit to you that I lose a lot of my ability to feel like I'm connected when I'm looking at a screen where I only see a couple of faces and I can barely see those faces and get connected to them as humans. So this business of video conferencing, this business of Zooming really means, it seems to me, that we need to actually think about having more opportunities to connect through this video conferencing so that we stay connected. To give you an example, I'm involved in one business that's a franchise business. And the normal course of events of the franchisees in a market is that maybe once a month, maybe once a quarter, the franchisees get together and talk to each other with the franchisor. During this crisis, this COVID crisis, the franchisees, though, in that business that I'm involved in, have been meeting every single week. Unparalleled numbers of meetings. And guess what? I think that the franchisees know each other better now than they did when they were having once a quarter meetings. And so the thing I want to stress to you is don't be sensitive to taking too much time with meetings. Have them. Make sure that you stay connected with each other and with your board. It's probably more important to have these video conference meetings more frequently now than it was before when you were doing face-to-face meetings. It takes several of these kinds of meetings to feel the same connection that you did when you were in the same room together. And so actually overdo the video conferencing, overdo it if need be, because I will tell you that example I just gave you about those franchisees, I know my fellow franchisees in that marketplace. And I've been around that business for 20 years. So I know that business and I know those franchisees, but I know them better now than I did a year ago because we're spending more time together. And oh, by the way, we're spending more time together because we're fighting the same pandemic together. We have a common enemy. And so it's really very important to take advantage of this technology that we have and use it to maintain, and for that matter, even improve the connectivity with the people that you're involved with, particularly your boards. Don't let them get away from you. Don't let it be so easy for them to avoid you that you don't stay connected. You need them now more than ever. So stay connected with them, and the video conferencing can help do that. And by the way, make them have their cameras on. Don't let them hide behind their pictures or their logos or their names. Have the cameras because it helps to assure the connectivity. And it's really important to do that. And then I think you have to be prepared. You and boards need to be prepared for the possibility that not only will donors face fatigue, but board members face fatigue. It's why I think it's so important to stay connected with them. Make sure that they remember why they got on the board in the first place. Make sure they understand that you need them desperately. But you have to be prepared for the possibility that if they're struggling in their own businesses, if they're struggling in their own economic circumstances, they may decide they don't have time for you. They may decide that they need to move on. So you may end up losing board members during this period of time. It may not have happened yet, but if it goes on for any extended period of time, you may be surprised. It may start to hit you. And so be prepared for that possibility. And let's face it, most not-for-profits at the local and regional level struggle to have board members who are really totally engaged, effective, capable board members who are totally engaged. So remember the ones you want to keep. Remember those and stay connected with those. Don't lose the ones you really want, because you're liable to lose some of them if you don't stay effectively connected. Then I got one more item. I said 5, but I got another one. And I have to be honest with you, this is on this list because of Ray Lynn. And I had 5 and she said, no, you got to have another one. And so instead of saying, no, I'm not going to do it, or instead of getting rid of one of the ones that I wanted, I decided to add a 6th. So this one, you can blame the 6th one on Ray Lynn, but actually it's really a powerful thought. And it's a powerful thought because most of us who are in the business of being involved in not-for-profits with a cause are so passionate about the cause that we commit all of our energy to the cause. And sometimes we forget to brag about how good a job we do. And so Ray Lynn's message to you, and I want to reinforce it, is don't be ashamed to tell everybody you come across, both as leadership and as board members, and make sure your board members remember this, that, hey, if you think we're doing a good job, please tell as many people as you can. Let people know that we're really making a difference in their lives. Make sure that people understand that this thing you're involved in is really giving back to the community. It's important that we do this because that business, and Ray Lynn calls it bragging, but I'll call it strong communicating about our effectiveness in our community. And one of the biggest reasons why I have been passionate about not-for-profits is because I believe that local not-for-profits have a better ability to understand the needs of a community than any government agency ever will. Because we are there on the ground and we feel the pain of those who need us. We feel the needs that are out there in the community. And the people who are involved in a not-for-profit are there because they care deeply and intensely about the mission that they're involved in. If they don't belong involved. They should get off the board. They should go away. But when we're doing a great job, we need to make sure the community knows it. And we need to, as Ray Lynn would say, brag, brag, brag. So I'm going to stop there. And I've done a lot of pontificating and speechifying here. One of the problems with Zoom calls, especially when you've got these slides up there with screen sharing, is that it's hard to know who's there and what the body language is telling you. I can't feel the body language in the group. So I'm going to stop for a moment and ask the group, and in fact, I'm going to shut down my screen. And I'm going to go back to the group. I'm going to ask you, what do you have that you'd like to add to my list? Or what about my list needs to be challenged? Don't all speak up at once, please. I can't, you're talking all at the same time. I can't hear you.
I'd be happy to speak first.
Good.
Rosemary Nixon with Encore Palm Beach County. I would love to have you see me, but for some reason, my video is not working. And
Okay.
and I don't know whether it's because of this program. Every other program I've done, I've had no problem with it. I would just like to speak to the whole idea of frequency of contact with people and activity. We're a very small nonprofit with no funding, all volunteers. But over the last 6 months, if people are on our email list, we have scheduled and distributed a Zoom meeting, a presentation, a workshop, a newsletter, or whatever every single week since April. And people have told me that they noticed that. And I've never forgotten from my MBA classes that in advertising, you have to touch people 7 times before they respond. And I think that you now have to do it 14 times. So that's what we've been doing. In fact, we had a Zoom meeting scheduled to involve a new group of men in a program for men. And not one person responded to our invitation, but we will not give up. We will be scheduling something again. And
That's great.
I think that's what people have to be doing. And actually, it's brought us more people than we would have been able to reach in in-person activities and events.
That's great. What a great story. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Now, if
Anybody
you
have
could
anything else
fix
to
my
share?
video, that would be nice.
Noreen.
Hi, Jerry. Thank you for being
Hi.
here today. So you mentioned board fatigue and donor fatigue, and you touched on a few suggestions, but do you mind elaborating a little bit more on how we can overcome some of the challenges? You know, I think a lot of board members feel like it's got to be always money and that we need to donate as board members, but you know, it can go so much farther. It could be time, it could be introductions to key people. And I think we sometimes forget that as we're just thinking money, money, money. There's so many other ways to help, but I'm curious to your feedback on how to overcome board fatigue and donor fatigue, because it's always the same people that donate and it's always the same people.
Well, you know, that is one of the things that I was going to say. That's a very good point you make, is that there is no doubt about it. I tell this story frequently when I do presentations to not-for-profit boards, but one of the saddest stories that I can tell about my participation in not-for-profit boards sounds like I'm bragging when I say it, but I want you to hold off before you conclude I'm bragging and realize that I think it's a sad story. Virtually every single board that I ever went on, within months of going on that board, I was in a leadership position. And that is actually sad rather than glad. Because the reason that I ended up in a leadership position was because I was the big mouth who asked questions. Because all of a sudden, I was the guy who was actually heavily engaged in the communication and the conversation that was going on. And all of a sudden, I stood out because I was engaged, all right? Now, I'm serious when I say that's not good. That's not good. What I want every board member to do is be so engaged that deciding who should be in the leadership position is a tough decision, not an easy one. And so I think that one of the most important things, Noreen, that you can do is to figure out where the hot buttons are for each board member. Pay attention to what you see and hear, research each board member, and ask yourself the question, what is it that, one, brought that person there, two, what keeps that person there, and what are the things that are of interest to that person or what are their core competencies, what are their skills that I can take advantage of? And figure out for each board member your list of the board member hot buttons, board member skills, board member competencies, and figure out a way to tap into them. Because when a board member is engaged, a board member is hooked. Once I got engaged, I was hooked. And I couldn't let go. Even if they had wanted me to let go, I couldn't let go because now I'm emotionally hooked. And so I think that your question, yes, there's no doubt about it. We want them to write checks, all right? We want them to write checks. We want them to do introductions to people who can write checks. But the board members' engagement and their ability to bring their skills to the table can sometimes be even more powerful than the check that they write. And by getting them engaged, they will wake up one day and say, I've got an idea. And I know somebody who can get this idea implemented. And I'm going to bring them to the table. In fact, you know what? They ought to be on our board. Or you know what? These people believe in this so badly. I think they would make a great volunteer. And so in my mind, you put your finger on it. We need to maximize the use of the core competencies, the skills, and the passions of every single board member because they can leverage us as the leadership of the organization. So I think you put your finger on a really important point. Anybody else? If I don't get off the stage here, Ray Lynn's not going to have time that she needs to be able to talk about something she's really excited about. And by the way, I am too. And so I'm going to, unless somebody else wants to raise their hand quickly. Yes, Fernanda, go ahead. You
Hi,
did.
Jerry, thank you so much.
You jumped.
Yeah, I did. I jumped. Thank you for your feedback and your great presentation, Jerry. I just have a quick question. What are your thoughts on the annual giving mandated for board members? An annual fee or an annual gift?
Yeah, I have a pretty strong feeling about it. I love when boards have the courage to say there is a minimum annual contribution you have to make. I love it when a board has the courage to do that. But at a minimum, every board without exception should have the policy that says you need to give something that's meaningful based on your financial condition. It needs to be something that is meaningful. It shows that you care enough that out of your personal financial condition, you're willing to write a check. That could be for somebody who is a really low middle income earning person. It could be a $10 check. For somebody else, it could be a $10,000 check. Each might be meaningful. And so at a minimum, boards need to have a rule that says you got to give something and it's got to be meaningful. We want to know that you care enough to give us a meaningful amount of money based on your financial condition. Now, when boards have the courage to say, and oh, by the way, you need to either give or get $5,000 and every board member votes for that, God love them. But most boards don't have what I'll call the cojones to pull that off. But what they do have to have the courage to do is to say everybody's got to give and it's got to be meaningful. It can't just be some person who makes $500,000 a year writes a $100 check. I'm sorry, that's not meaningful for you. So that's my answer to that question. It's a real cop-out, I know, but it's my answer. Okay. All right. I'm gonna stop and I'm gonna turn it over to Ray Lynn and let her do her spiel because I think what she's got to talk about is really exciting. Go for it, Ray Lynn.
All right. Well, I want to say two things that popped up in my mind while you were talking. First of all is Chloe, Tiffany, Lynn, the committee for next year's storytelling and brag is storytelling. That is what you're going to work on, it sounds like, or we're going to work on all next year. So how perfect, especially during COVID, your board should be your best brand ambassadors. So are you feeding them those mission moments? Are you feeding them stories about what you've done now during COVID and during our challenges and racial injustice? What are you giving them to go out in the community and still sing your praises and get money in for you? So that was number one. And number two was, Jerry mentioned connection with your board members. We have a board member who was the CEO of a global NGO, Junior Achievement. And he had 29 board members. He told me he reached out to them every month, once a month, individually, whether it was for 5 minutes or an hour. Think about that, you guys. During normal times, 29 board members, one touch point every month. How many of you do that? How many of you reach out? I want to see hands. Somebody, I need to see faces in here. Who reaches out? There's Shannon. Shannon, by the way, you have a great background. So anyway, that just struck me as two key points. So let me get my slides up here if I can. I think I have screen share. Let me go over here. One moment, please. And share. Oh, nope, that's the wrong one. It never works when I'm ready.
Hit slideshow. You need to hit slideshow.
Okay, hold on. I think it's on the wrong screen. Yep, it is. So there we go. Okay, good. So what I want to talk to you guys about today, and I'm sorry for the delay, is a new program we're doing. Those of you who know us know that we've done educational programs and training across South Florida for years, right? Since I came on board with the nonprofit in 2015, and we are all about better boards and better leaders, right? So we have focused on any kind of training to do with board governance, with leadership training, with fundraising training. We've done educational panels with this chamber and with folks all over South Florida. And one thing that we've heard consistently, regularly, is from folks like you, we cannot find board members. Don't have the time. I don't have time to make that 29 hours or however many minutes it was a month like Sean Rush did to connect with people and find new board members, plus manage the ones I have. I don't have wealthy friends. I don't have connections. Or the flip side, we've heard from people in the community, I don't know how to join a board. I don't know what is required to be a board member. Who's good? Who is a good nonprofit that I should try to be on the board of? So we've heard it for 5 or 6 years now, constantly, and the national stats kind of back that up. I think there's a board source stat that says 60% of all nonprofits struggle right now to find board members. So we know this is a big problem. So what we want to do is bring you guys a program. This is modern philanthropic technology. It's called Board Match Now, and it is a flagship element of our new membership model. And what that does is it's basically like an online dating service for nonprofits and board member candidates. So we have created the technology. During COVID, gosh, like so many of you, we had to pivot, right? We had to kind of hunker down and figure out what's next for us. We're a capacity building organization. We're not health or housing or hunger or homelessness. We are capacity. And that's pretty low on the totem pole. But we started thinking, every single one of you, you have board members, you have a need to be in the community and do more. You have a need to find people. So we are relevant. So how do we fit these times, and how do we help, especially in a remote environment? So my baby, this project, which I've wanted to do for 5 years, for Jerry and our board and the people that have worked with us have heard about this for 5 years. I've wanted to do it. So we took the time to create the technology. We have a partner, it's Deltinium Technologies, and they have funded most of this. And we created in about 12 weeks or less what was projected to take 6 months to create. So we now have an online matching system, much like a Match.com or an eHarmony, that can match you with people in the community. So it's really simple. You can do it from your phone, create a profile, and start finding matches. You can do it from your desktop, your laptop. It's equal opportunity, but basically you go in there and you create your profile and you explain what your give or get is, how much time you want from a board member, what you're looking for, what professional strengths What personal strengths? Does someone consider themselves a good networker? Are they a good writer? Are they a good presenter? Can they sing? I don't know. There's all kinds of questions in there. You guys will tell us when you get in and hopefully fill out the profiles and evaluate it. But basically, we've created a algorithm, the technology with the algorithm that matches you with your best matches. So another part of this is looking at who's good for this type of matching. And we've had some surprises already. We just started talking about this program this month and last month. This is the first time we've talked about it in Palm Beach County with our friends at Delray. And we thought small to medium-sized nonprofits, you guys would be all over this. And the bigger nonprofits would go, we're good, we've got our board members come to us, right? Well, that's not the case. What we're finding is across the board, the big and the small nonprofits are agreeing that this is a need and this can fill a need. So for us, a board match candidate is basically any nonprofit, but we thought small to medium size, maybe budgets from 0, 25,000 up to about 4 million, but it's really any nonprofit struggling to find board members. So let me ask you this. Do you have a board member succession plan? Do you have a plan if one of your board members gets this donor fatigue and has to drop off unexpectedly or suddenly? What is your plan? And have you put a dollar value on the time it takes you to reach out, network, connect, find that board member, recruit them, get them locked and loaded into your organization, and then onboard them? Think about how much time that takes, just the search process. So with Board Match now, with our new program, we're taking that work off the plate for you. So what you have to do from this point, though, is once we match you, it's up to you to connect. We're going to give you people. We're going to keep the pipeline full of professionals who are caring, committed, compassionate, people who are in our community and want to give back. They're going to fill out a profile that says what they can do, what they offer, what their professional skills are, what their strengths are. They're going to share with you what they consider their best foot forward. And then you look through your matches. You see who's a 90% match with your nonprofit, who's a 75% match. Let's say you go through and what you need this month is different from next month. Your matches will always be sitting there for you to scroll through so you can outreach to someone. But the actual connection point is going to be up to you guys, especially in the beginning, because we're in COVID and we can't do a live in-person kind of mixer event like we had talked about doing. But that will come once the world calms down a little bit. So basically, quickly about the matching: professional skills, personal strengths, community connections, financial capability, time available. Basically, all the things that you know you need a board member to have, you have the opportunity to indicate in the portal on your profile. The candidates will also, you get matched and you see what interests you. So it sounds pretty simple. It is done out there by a couple of organizations. And what we think is different is our focus, our commitment is to our community. So South Florida. So we have to be, NLI has to be out there recruiting the most interested potential board member candidates you can find. We want the young professionals. We want retirees. We want business leaders, small business owners. We want anybody in the community who really wants to give back. We want to fill that, we want to match them, but training is key. So the training portion comes in. We will have on-demand trainings. We'll have live Q&A sessions like you just had a little bit here today with Jerry. We'll do that monthly with all our instructors. We'll rotate the instructors. We can train the board member candidates the 101. What's their job? Do they have to fundraise? What does that mean? You'll have to onboard them to your organization. Nothing changes there, but we'll give them some of the basic duties and responsibilities. And on top of that, leadership training. So within this new membership model for National Leadership Institute, we've got Board Match now, we've got all our standard training opportunities, and most of those will be remote because of the world we live in now. So it's education, it's opportunities, it's networking, it's PR, it's all those things. We're going to price it for new members that come in by the end of this year, by the 31st. You will be a founding member through December 31st of 2021 for just $99, which is insane. And my board is not happy with me, but they've agreed to it through 12/31, through the end of this year. And what we want you guys to understand is this is education, this is matches, This is access to instructors like we've never done before. There's so much to the membership model, but the flagship piece is Board Match Now. And I could talk way much longer, but I think Tiffany or Lynn would probably cut me off here. So I'll stop the screen share and see if anybody has any questions. And I'll stop talking for a second. I see Glenn. Glenn, was that clapping? Is that because I stopped talking or because you like the idea? I haven't seen you forever. I have to tease you a little bit.
Thank you so much, Raylan. Does anyone have any questions? Good. Glenn?
No, I didn't have a question. I was just clapping. And yeah, it's been too long, Raylan. I miss you. Good to see you.
I know you guys, we had a conflict with a client. So these Delray Beach meetings have been, I couldn't get out of it. And I was missing everybody terribly. So when Lynn and Tiffany and Chloe gave us this opportunity, I was so excited. So it's weird not to see everyone face to face, but it's nice to see you all here.
Well, Lynn had a live meeting just for the committee members. Those were the only 2 live meetings I've been to in the past 7 months. I told her I don't know how to act around people anymore. So, but it was wonderful. So, and I'm looking forward to a good year next year. In spite of everything, we've got a great plan.
Well, we hope a lot of you guys will be interested in Board Match Now. And if you come on board, what we're looking for from you is, help us build this, help us grow it. We feel like this has huge impact for our community. It takes a lot of work off your plate. And the smaller nonprofits, we're a small nonprofit. I know how hard that is. We know. So we're hoping this takes some of the work out of it, saves you time, saves you money. I mean, come on, you take a possible board member to dinner, it could be $99. So we're giving you the matches plus the education. And it's what we've done all along, just in a remote platform, which COVID has forced on us. And I'm a little bit thankful and really thankful for our partner, for Deltenium Technologies, because they stepped to the plate during COVID and funded this so we could bring it to the community by the end of the year.
So are you building that list of potential people now? Can you walk us through, like, do the dummy walkthrough? So I understand, I pay $99. Do I get a certain amount of access? Do I get access to 3 people on my board? Explain some of the details.
Sure. So the $99 is a membership fee for a whole year. So we're taking names right now. If you're interested, like Glenn, I'll expect Glenn to email me and say, we're interested, we're in. Just email me. I'll put my email in the chat box, and it's good for 1 year. So from January 1st of next year to the 31st of 2021, that's the membership. Whether you send me your name today or December 2nd, your membership is good through 12/31/2021. You can get all the matches you need. So the portal will be open. You can pop in and pop out and look if you have an emergency loss of a board member. So for that whole year, you have access to the matching portal, to Board Match Now. The educational opportunities will be monthly. They'll be on demand. There'll be video. There'll be closed groups, closed forums. Let's say a new board member comes on and they want to chat with other new board members. We're going to make a closed group just for those folks to connect and share their learning experiences and hopefully grow. So all the education will be for the year, and it'll really be ramped up January 1st because we're still filling the portal. We've got a big search going on right now in the community to fill it with qualified board members because we want you guys to have the best of the best.
Definitely. Any other questions from the group or comments or feedback? Are we good? All right. Well, we are so thankful for you, Jerry, and for you, Raylan, that you just give your continued expertise and wisdom to this group. I know that we all just absorb it and are so grateful for your guidance as we navigate through 2020, especially year above all years. So we want to go around the room and just do introductions really quickly. With the question today, if you could introduce yourself and what organization you're from, but what has been maybe the biggest lesson that you have learned either in your role or in your nonprofit this year? And I know there's many lessons that we're all learning, but maybe just something that you're taking away that you could share with the group, something positive or something constructive that we can take into our group leading into 2021, which I'm so excited to talk to you guys a little bit more after about our theme. So Glenn, do you wanna introduce yourself? I know that many of us already know you, but we'd love to hear about you and what you do and what you've learned this year.
Sure. So put me on the spot there, but my name is Glenn Muller. I'm the Director of Grants Administration for the Milagro Center. And the question was the biggest lesson I've learned?
Yeah, many lessons have been learned this year, but what's one big takeaway that you've gained this year?
You know, I've remained very busy during this whole period, just writing grants, but I think the biggest lesson I've learned is, you know, I'm going to go in a different direction with the biggest lesson. I realize how fortunate I am to work in the nonprofit sector at Milagro Center, where they really do wonderful work, and then to connect with all of you. As crazy as the time it's been with the pandemic and the divided nation and all the negativity in the world, I never give in to getting negative, because I know all of you well, and I know all the good work you're doing in the community. And every time I start to get down, I make a gratitude list, and you're all on my gratitude list.
That's wonderful, Glenn, and we're grateful to have you here with us too. Next on my screen is Laura. Hi, Laura. How are you today?
Guys, I'm Laura with Spirit of Giving Network. We're an umbrella nonprofit, and we have 75 nonprofits underneath us that help families and children in Palm Beach County. I guess what I've learned is just, you know, we're keeping our heartbeat alive here. You know, our mission is, you know, our heartbeat, and it's so important to us. And I guess that comes along with the bragging that we just are so proud of what we're doing. You know, we just, we love the collaboration with the community, and we're just working well together and staying positive.
We're lucky to have you as part of the group. You help so many people in the community through the design of your organization. So thank you for all that you do, Laura. Next on my screen is John. Hey, John, how's it going?
Good. How are you, Chloe? Good to see you. Good to see everyone. John Swartz with the Half Foundation, Business Marketing Director. Nice to meet everyone. You know, the biggest thing I learned was that, you know, in business and in success, it's important that we get out of our comfort zones. And one of the things that we learned, all of us, I think, with this pandemic was we had to get out of our comfort zone. We had to pivot. We had to do something different. And that all leads to success, right? We have to be flexible sometimes, and we're creatures of habit. We always want to lean to the least path of least resistance. But the biggest thing was just being flexible and, you know, pivoting and changing with the time and getting out of your comfort zone. So that was the biggest lesson.
I couldn't agree more, and I will completely mirror that by saying that's my biggest lesson too. Just the ability for staff members, for board members, for volunteers to adapt and morph with the times, to not take it personally, and to relay that to donors, to say, hey, we're going to try and get back to what we were doing, but we got to stay flexible, and programs may shift during this year based on the immediate needs of the nonprofit. Next on my screen is Fernanda. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, sure, thank you. It's my first Zoom meeting, and I am a board member at the Children's Garden, and I am also a co-founder with Melanie Stefanovic. I don't know if you see her. We are founding a nature school. She will tell you more about it. I think I've learned a lot from board members. My biggest takeaway, I used to be a staff member in an organization, and we had big egos in the board. And I think my biggest lesson was to not take it personally, just get them to sign, get them to vote, have their egos whenever you can, and just get things moving. Thank you.
Keep the ball rolling, I agree. Shannon, how are you this morning?
I'm fine. How about you? I am Shannon Eden, the president and CEO of Old School Square. And I think our biggest lesson is that stay fluid. If you can't do what you're you are normally doing, find a new outlet and avenue to serve your patrons. And so we went totally virtual. And I have to say, our school was always limited by the size of our class. We now have students from all over the world, the UK, Canada, Turkey, Germany, and our class sizes are enormous where we can't accommodate them here. The museum is pivoting. We're reopening in November. Because we can't have the holiday village, we're turning the museum into a winter holiday wonderland. And we learned how to do virtual concerts. It sounds easy, but there are huge legalities involved with putting music out there online. So we learned that world and started developing virtual concerts. We can only get about 3,000 people at our pavilion. I think the Reese Brothers concert is up to 4 million views. So we are reaching more people virtually than we can on our campus. And we're now open again, and we're doing it in socially distanced pods. So, you know, everything has changed, and if you just got to figure out how to stay current in this environment and make it work.
I have been so impressed by the way that you all have just grown and modernized virtually, and to eliminate geographical boundaries to reach those viewers and participants is absolutely incredible. So I encourage anybody that has questions on how to do what they do to please use Shannon as an example, because it's been phenomenal to watch. Even from the distance, it's been wonderful. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
In the comments, David Vance said that he is on the board of Friends of Our Reefs, and he's currently sitting in the car service waiting room, so he can't share his video. But what he said is that he's learned to keep reimagining and learning from others. We have adopted online fundraising ideas from others, and now he has to go. So he said, thank you to Jerry and Raylan. Melanie, would you like to share?
Hi, yes, nice to meet everybody. I'm Melanie Stefanovic. I'm a brand new member, so thank you for, thanks Lynn. Thanks for welcoming me, and it's really nice to meet everybody and to join this incredible association of individuals. I'm the executive director and president of Cocoa Plum Nature School. We're brand new. We just incorporated in August and are working on our federal tax exemption and board membership, organization, and everything else. So we're in the infancy stage, but I have learned in this process, besides all of the little granular things that I've learned, like Florida law around schools and Delray municipal law around schools, I've learned that there's no such thing as no, right? I'm not taking, no is not in my vocabulary. It's just another way, right? Okay, this doesn't work, great, another way. This one doesn't work, another way, but there's no no's, just yes, somewhere else. So that's my big takeaway.
It's a great lesson. I've heard Raylan say it before, our fundraising academy. Sometimes no isn't no, it's not now. And that's a great lesson for us all to learn as well. Kelly, would you like to introduce yourself?
Good morning, I hit the wrong button. Good morning, everyone. I'm an old friend of the Nonprofit Council. My name is Kelly Kerr, and I am the publisher for Macaroni Kid, Boynton Beach and Delray Beach. So we are a family-friendly resource. We're all online, and the reason I'm here today, not only just to get involved more with the Nonprofit Council in the coming year, but I also wanted to offer everyone an opportunity to be a part of our listing for a volunteer. If you have any volunteers that you need, whether it's adults, families, even for kids or high school students, we're setting up a listing for free, and it goes out to our members. We have 3,400 opt-in subscribers right now that are local families that are looking for things to do, you know, over the holiday season and into the new year. So I know Lynn was gracious enough to email that link out. So if you want to, I'd love to have your listing published, and it'll be an evergreen organic thing. So we'll always have that there available for any family to kind of just come in and check and then see what you have available and then go directly to your site so you can check them out, and you can make sure it's a good fit for your organization. We just want to get that information out there. So the thing that I learned this year is just to, I guess I appreciated what we had, and then I just wanted to connect and help others to kind of get back out there, and reconnect with others, because that's what I missed the most, I think, during this whole ordeal. So it's great to see everyone. I'm sorry I can't see you in person, but I look forward to next year.
Kelly,
Thank you.
Kelly, put your info in the chat for everybody.
Okay. I'll do that right now. Thanks.
Awesome. Lynn beat me to that. Juanita is also getting her car service, which is kind of funny. She must be at the same place as David Vance. She is the director of engagement of Cross Ministries. And she says she thinks it's so important to think creatively, think outside the box. And it's been very key to their organization being able to keep their programs up and operating. So you can continue to read the comments as they come up on the chat as well. Judy, would you like to share? I just saw your video pop in and out. Got Judy, Rosemary. Yeah, there's Judy. You're on mute too there, Judy. Judy, we can't hear you. I think you're still on mute.
Okay.
There you go.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, I had a phone call. I've got some workers here. So my name is Judy. I'm new to the board, and Lynn has invited me to come to these meetings because she knows my passion to serve and my actual desire to get involved in nonprofit. And I've got time that I want to donate, and she knows I've worked with Lynn on some projects. We've known each other for a long time. So I'm here to see what opportunities there are in the nonprofit and to learn more about it. And I'm fascinated by it. And I do have a passion for serving and getting involved in the communities and having a purposeful serving for me and purposefully donating to the community. So I'm thankful that Lynn has invited me, and I appreciate everyone's knowledge, and I am just fascinated by this whole board, and I'm excited for it. I'm excited to be a part of it.
Well, thank you, Judy, for joining us, and thank you, Lynn, for inviting her. You're the exact kind of guest that we love to have here with us, not only to get your feedback, but to share what we do. And some of it's bragging, some of it's engagement, and some of it's just to know who you can help us get connected to in the community. So thank you for taking the time today to learn more about what we do. I think Jim, are you on the call? Or Sherry? They may be just audio. All right. Is there anyone that I missed?
Hi, everyone. I'm Sherry,
Hey.
the Victory Marquis, and I periodically come to the nonprofit council meetings. I've been involved in several foundations and nonprofits. I did an internship with Palm Health Foundation, Healthier Delray Beach. I'm currently involved in the Recovery Community Hub of Palm Beach County, opening soon in Delray Beach, and also Wayside House and the Elks as well. So I'm involved in several nonprofits. I do a lot of volunteering and in the realm of fundraising, and the Health Foundation was a Community Grants and Investments intern. So I just love to hear what everybody's doing in the community. I love to get involved in however I can. And I have for years wanted to start a nonprofit geared more towards our seniors for Mary Poppins Family Services, but I haven't actually, got that. It's basically still kind of new, and it's a lot harder than I thought. So in the meantime, I'm just looking to get involved, and I'm looking for work as well. So
Great. Well, thank you for joining us. I think we are wrapping up with introductions. You all know me. My name is Chloe, and I'm the Florida director of the Be Like Brit Foundation. We have an orphanage in Haiti, and we have a school in Haiti now as well, which we're very, very proud of. This year we adapted in some really crazy ways, of course, without any travel and taking groups in. But one of our biggest successes was actually this past Saturday. We had a virtual gala, which people could tune into live. And there was like little virtual tables, banquet tables that you could hop around with like a little avatar. And the whole thing was pre-recorded. So we had different speakers, myself included, and the whole thing was recorded. So if that's something that you're working on currently or you're interested in exploring, please go to Be Like Brit's Facebook page, or I'm happy to email you the link to the recording. My personal Facebook page has the recording as well. It's just a really cool resource for you to see kind of how that operated and how that worked. And I'm happy to talk to you about that if that's the direction that you're looking to go into. It was a really interesting process for us to start from the ground up. So I'm happy to be a resource to people. And I think that the same thing what we said earlier, there were no geographical boundaries. So instead of it just taking place in Massachusetts, now any one of our supporters, literally from around the world, and especially in our community here in Florida, could join in. And it helped us tell our story to a wider audience, which is my transition into our theme for the Nonprofit Council for 2021. And so we have been working, thank you to our committee members that have just been brainstorming with us and revising and figuring out what the best resources we can provide you for next year, coming off of quite a crazy year, we could all agree. So our theme is telling your story like never before. So our entire year, woven month to month, will be how you, your staff, your board can tell your stories. And that's through exploring your mission, the art of storytelling, even social media, email communication. What is it like to have your story told through one-on-one donor communications? How can you use your key ambassadors to tell your story? And that's corporate partners and grant writing and more. So we are absolutely thrilled to be launching into next year that we can tell our stories, new mission moments, very well in a whole different world. So we are thrilled to invite you to our next meeting, which is going to be January 5th. And January 5th will be in person, socially distanced, of course, at the Delray Chamber, and you'll see more information in your email. But we're so excited to get us back together. Just like Jerry said, you can't read body language or my little weird beach scene because I'm sad there's a hurricane right now. So I can't wait to all be back in the same room and wave from across the room and say hello to you all there. If anyone has any questions, I think there was an event today that Tiffany said she might want to highlight. Lynn, do you know something about that?
Yes, quickly, we didn't get to tell you, but there is a virtual healthcare symposium happening today at 12:30. It is called COVID and Beyond. So you can join a panel discussion with local experts to talk about everything to do with COVID, what's happening up. Here's our picture. So our moderator is Dr. Craig Spodak. You can see our former mayor, Jeff Perlman's going to share his story from very upfront of what he went through and what he has learned. And you can see Daniel, Ron, Melissa, Damon, all these wonderful different people on our panel. So feel free to jump into that. You can go to our website, delraybeach.com, and you can just join in with the link and come in and hear what's up, hear the local. It'll be really interesting.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, with that, thank you everyone for joining. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Raylyn, again, for your expertise and partnership with us. This group does amazing things for the community. And Glenn and I have talked about this before, how nonprofits were needed before the pandemic, and they are surely needed now in whole new ways. So thank you all for the admirable work that you do. And thank you for taking the time to hang out with us today and learn a little bit.
Yeah, so be watching your emails, gang, for updates on our group. Chloe said in person, we're hoping that that will work. If this group grows bigger than the room that we have, we will find another place to meet so we can be socially distanced but be together. Because we do believe that we need to somehow or another figure this out together and be able to see each other. So just keep watching. We're going to keep praying. We know that there's some new vaccines on the horizon, and we're hoping for better days ahead. But we're going to tell our story like never before.
Yes, we will. Everybody have a wonderful day. Take care.